It started as a normal day on the coast. The weather was calm, the water looked clear, and the divers had done this trip dozens of times before. The man was an experienced recreational diver, trained, careful, and confident. He checked his oxygen tank, tested his regulator, and followed every safety rule. Nothing felt wrong. Nothing felt dangerous. As he descended deeper into the water, the sunlight slowly faded above him, replaced by a cold blue darkness. Fish moved quietly around him, and the only sound he could hear was his own breathing echoing inside his mask. Slow. Steady. Controlled. Then suddenly, everything went wrong. Without warning, his regulator jerked violently from his mouth. At the same moment, a powerful current slammed him sideways, dragging him toward a jagged rock formation below. Instinctively, he reached for his air supply, but the hose had wrapped itself tightly around a piece of metal debris hidden beneath the water. His air line was trapped. He tried to pull back, but the current only tightened the grip. Panic surged through his body. His heart rate spiked. Every diver is trained for emergencies, but training doesn't stop fear when you realize you're running out of oxygen underwater. He tried to stay calm. Panic wastes air. Panic kills divers. He took one slow breath. Then another. Each breath felt heavier than the last. He checked his gauge and his stomach dropped. His tank was nearly empty. Above him was open water. Below him was darkness. And around him was nothing but pressure and silence. He tried cutting the hose free, but his knife slipped from his shaking fingers and vanished into the deep. Now his options were gone. His lungs began to burn. His chest tightened. The human body reacts violently when it knows oxygen is disappearing. His vision started narrowing, colors fading at the edges. His thoughts became scattered and slow. This is the moment most drowning victims don't survive. But something inside him refused to give up. Instead of fighting the current, he forced himself to relax. He remembered a technique taught only in advanced survival training: exhale completely, then stop moving. Movement wastes oxygen. Fear wastes oxygen. Stillness buys time. He released the air from his lungs and went completely limp, letting the current hold him in place. Seconds passed. Then more seconds. Every instinct screamed at him to inhale, but he resisted. His body began shutting down unnecessary functions. His heart slowed. His muscles weakened. The pain dulled into a strange calm. And then, he noticed something unbelievable. Tiny bubbles were rising from beneath the metal debris. Trapped air. A small pocket, barely visible, clinging to the underside of the structure. With the last strength he had left, he pulled himself closer and tilted his head just enough to press his mouth against the pocket. He inhaled. It wasn't much, just a shallow breath, but it was enough. Enough to keep his brain alive. Enough to stop him from blacking out. He stayed there, taking tiny sips of air whenever the bubbles formed, timing each breath carefully. Minutes passed. Then more. Above him, the surface felt impossibly far away. On land, the dive team had noticed something was wrong. When he didn't resurface on time, alarms were raised. Rescue divers entered the water, following his last known position. Down below, his body was failing. His muscles trembled uncontrollably. His vision faded to gray. The air pocket was shrinking. Just as the last bubble disappeared, a powerful beam of light cut through the darkness. A rescuer grabbed his arm and yanked him free from the debris. He was unconscious before they even reached the surface. When he woke up in the hospital hours later, doctors were stunned he had survived. They explained that if he had panicked, even slightly, he would have run out of oxygen minutes earlier. The air pocket alone wouldn't have saved him. It was his control, his training, and his decision to stay calm that kept him alive. The doctors later said something chilling. Most people trapped underwater with no air die within seconds, not because of lack of oxygen, but because panic makes them waste the last breath they have. He survived because he didn't. And that's why this story is a reminder that sometimes, the difference between life and death comes down to a single breath and the ability to stay calm when everything tells you to panic.